Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel. Hey, I'm your host for LT Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering returning series Love and Marriage Detroit. What up, though? This is season 2, episode 1. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Thank you for your support. Will you please support this channel by liking this video? And if you are not a subscriber, you can go on and subscribe now, and you can leave your comments below. I'm happy that this show is back. I know some people have their reasons to why that they didn't think that the show was really worthy. I may have a biasness because I'm from the Midwest, and I also have a lot of family that lives in Detroit. I don't know, but I enjoyed it. I understand that every franchise is not going to be Huntsville. And you really shouldn't expect it to be Huntsville. Sorry. I mean, all the Love and Hip Hops are not the same. They may have fought on each of them, but it shouldn't have been the same. There shouldn't be the same drama. Like, I don't know. But I appreciate what Detroit gives to us. But let's get into this episode. All right, so we begin where we left off. Let me say this. Shout out to Mr. Carlos King. I like that little intro. I really wish he'd be as this involved as far as getting into the intro like he does on Detroit. I think he should do a season recap at the beginning of the year, every year, for Huntsville, for if DC comes back, for Bell Collective, and Family Empire that just went off, Family Empire Houston. I think it would be great. I love that little intro. It makes me feel more connected to the show, a little bit more connected to him, connection to his babies that he's birthed out. So hopefully that Kingdom Reign Entertainment and Owen will keep that in mind for the future franchises that are still existing. Let's do that. Shake it up a little bit. All right, so filming began 6 months after the reunion, which was taped. This is 2024. I think this was taped back in 2022. So 6 months. I think they did that in the summer too. So you're looking at I heard something about 2024 in the promo, in the trailer. So this could have been in 2023. Anyways, we start off with Brandon and Christina. Christina is in the kitchen and she's singing. I'm so glad she is singing. Hopefully we get something musical by Brandon and Christina. I follow Brandon on Instagram and I love him. This episode got me going though. But anyways, this dude can sing. Brandon can blow, if that's still a term for this generation. But he eats when he does sing. I said, Lord, and they didn't have that talent on there. We learned about Christina was able to sing last season. Hearing her do a little something around the house, and then the doorbell rings, and it's Brandon. And Brandon is bringing clothes over. And it's obviously laundry, and he tells, I guess Christina is going to do his laundry. Now, Brandon, the way you brought in those clothes, you didn't have no type of hamper, no nothing. Like, come on, you could have had a bag, at least a hefty Sensac bag for your clothes. Now, come on. So we find out that they have been separated for 6 months. After the reunion, Brandon was thinking or contemplating on getting a divorce. That really hurt Christina. And they basically have been living separately. She's been living at home, and we found out a little bit later that he's been living at his mother's home. So Brandon, he comes into the kitchen and they talk a little bit. I think the dining room area. They're like, how are you doing? And she says, I have a lot of peace. And then he says, are you saying that you have a lot of peace without me? She's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I pray a lot, After you were considering getting a divorce, I really didn't know you anymore. Brandon felt like, as they're talking about some of the problems in the relationship, he felt like he was constantly being molded and attacked to be a certain person that he didn't really want to be. And that was some of the stuff was talked about in season 1. And basically, like, why can't you just love me for who I am? I think for who you are is probably the problem, and why we're at this stage right now, Brandon, unfortunately. What is it? I didn't leave. Not leaving. Oh. Kristen said, there's a lot of things I saw in you that I just didn't like, and I was holding out hope for you to be the man that I needed you to be. Da 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 da. And I just did not leave our marriage. And he basically says, and I don't blame him, he says not leaving is not the prize. Like, some people will just tolerate people and they become resentful, which I think that they're at the stage of resentment. He's probably resented that he's had to be a certain way that he didn't want to be, and then she has hung on this long. She said if she knew better back when she was getting married to Brandon, she would have set better boundaries because a lot of stuff he had going on was a lot. We do know that they had got, I think, married within the 6 months of dating, which was a lot. And we get into a little bit more of the dysfunction as far as even starting their marriage. Christina ended up talking about the wedding day. She somehow had caught wind or was noticing that Brandon was looking at other women and making comments to some of his other buddies, probably groomsmen, about the women. And he was like, well, men gonna look. And she said, I know that, but on your wedding day, I should be the most important thing. You should be looking at me and paying attention to me. I mean, come on. At least on that day, can you focus on me? And I don't have a dog in that fight. Well, or a bone in that fight. Look, she said what she said, and that's just that, Brandon. There was no need for you to actually do all that. Sorry. Brandon says, he's out of the house. And I think Christina kicked him out. But he was talking about possibly coming back together. And he said, if I do come back, we both have to do the work. And Christina asked, what's the difference this time? I'm truly tired of this roller coaster. So obviously this has happened before, possibly not to the point of where someone was contemplating divorce, but you at least have been separated for some time. As far as they have not confessed that yet, of threatening divorce or trying to file divorce. She just says, I'm off this roller coaster. We ain't doing this again. And he says, why I'm coming back is because God told me that I need to come back. And then Christina said, I'm glad that you're listening to God, but do you know what it feels like as your wife to hear that you're only here because God told you? It's like it's mandated, but you don't really want to be here. I get how she feels in that moment. I'm kind of feeling both ways because I was like, do I really want to root for Brandon? After really thinking over it and watching the episode again, Brandon has some points, Christina has some points in this. It's not just a one-way thing of Brandon being the villain. Brandon has a lot of faults that possibly are big-ish that you could really rest upon. One thing you can say about Brandon is that he's at least, he's not lying about anything. He's going to tell you the truth and raw. If it cuts, it cuts. That's what I can appreciate from him. Yeah, she was saying like it's a hard pill to swallow, that you're only here because God told you to be here. It's good to be obedient, but it's going to take more than obedience to keep you here. Christina ends up just breaking down, just saying, I'm tired. When she kind of gets herself together, she says, she's scared of getting hurt again if he comes back, Brandon says that we have some unfinished business. I'm going to do the work, and God's going to do the rest. That's the most that you can do. Brandon, I think the ending of the conversation, so does that mean that I can't come back? And Christina says, no, not now. So that's the state of their relationship. We thought at the reunion things were getting better. And as you see with other relationships within the group, we thought that they were kind of getting better, and we find out it's not. We move on to Clark Kent or Superman and Lois Lane, which is Russell and Colby. We found out at the reunion that she was pregnant. They are going to their doctor's appointment, and they're 5 months pregnant right now. She told the nurse, we don't know the gender. Russell was like, we want to know. But then Colby's like, we still don't want to know. So they're going to do something to cover up so that they can't see any other part of the body but the head. We hear in Colby's confessional that she's 5 months pregnant and their daughter Kendall is not even 3 years old. But that's not what she was really planning out for, at least this stage of marriage and parenthood. While they're in with the doctor, they're asked, what do you think that the gender of the baby is? Russell says that he thinks it's a boy, and it's by the system of what his father had. I guess possibly a girl and then a boy or something to that nature. Colby says that she hopes it's a boy. And why she wants it is because of the deep bond and love that Kendall and Russell have. She is a daddy's girl and he is a girl dad. And she wants a son because she thinks that she'll have that mama's boy feel, because we know how boys feel about their mother and all of that. She wants that feeling. And so Russell suggested, okay, well, if we do have a girl, then we just got to keep trying. And she's like, well, I'm not into having a whole football team at home. We did find out that she was kind of devastated when she found out that she was having a girl, which is Kendall now. But she got over that pretty quickly. Kendall says, I don't want a third child. And then she talks a little bit of how Russell trapped her. And he's like, what are you talking about? I guess he knew how I was hearing the conversation. It sounded like he knew when she was ovulating or whatever and sealed the deal during that time. That's what I'm getting from what she was saying, but who knows? We go back to Brandon, and as I said before, Brandon lives with his mom, and his mom's name is Kathy. I couldn't remember her name. I'm glad that they showed her name because she got a confessional this season. I said, okay, Kathy, Miss Kathy. Basically, Brandon knows that he's in the doghouse, and he thought he would be back home by now, but if things don't change pretty soon, he's possibly got to get his own place. He's talking with his mom and how he felt in being married to Christina. He felt like a project. And really, when we look at it, it doesn't really look like we were incompatible. Kathy said, you could help a whole lot more around the house. She said from her perspective that how she had to be with her marriage to his father, that was overwhelming. He's within his head, I'm providing for her. All that I ask is that she takes care of the house. And that's how it is, even when you go into the Michigan area. It's quite an industrial type of and traditional, where the man takes care of the home, he's the provider. So I understand that demographic and what's going on there and the systems that happen. So he was just trained, man needs to take care of their home. Not just outside of the house, but also inside of the house is what's lacking with a lot of men, not just Brandon. And the women are stuck managing a whole house to herself with no help. Mama Kathy says, I did this with your father and I was miserable and we divorced. She ended up saying that she was just like Brandon, where she dated his father for 6 months and then got married instead of really taking time. And Brandon also says, I wasn't really prepared to be married. But I had to make some fast decisions because she was going back up to the Connecticut area. And in order to stop that, because he really wanted to be with her, he proposed. And then he admits that he even rushed up the wedding so he could get to the sex part. Kristen is a PK. She's part of the church world. You don't have sex before marriage or outside of your marriage. So, of course, a lot of people, and that's why I don't really judge him. I know some people were like, what? That happens a lot, especially in the church world, because there's a Bible verse that a lot of people live by. It's better to marry than to burn. And the interpretation that's been given or passed around is, if you're lusting and if you really want to have sex, you better go on and get married instead of sinning and fornicating. That scripture is twisted a little bit as to what the real meaning is. I don't feel like being the Bible thumper today, but there is a lot more than what Paul was saying in that scripture than just us picking out that one little verse and just say, you better marry. But still, it's got to be God's will. It don't matter how much you like this person and how much you are in lust for this person. I mean, you're still supposed to love this person. And you got to have purpose with this person. And having children is not enough to say that that's my purpose of being with this family. What are you called to do? As husband to this wife, as father to your children, what are you supposed to be together? So there's a lot more to it. But again, I'm not going to be a Bible thumper. So that's why I kind of like I understood where he was coming from. I'm not saying it was right, but that's just kind of the culture of the church world. And I'm not even downing the church world. It's just the system of operating. That's just not been really right. Mama Kathy, she said that she's seen how Brandon was serious. This is the first time he was really serious about a girl. So she didn't tell them not to get married. However, she knew that it was way too early. They got married way too soon. And they feel like if they had actually waited, then they probably would not have gotten married. So I think that they needed counseling and all of that before, premarital counseling, because it just sounds like everything's been a mess since they said I do. Do you still love her? Yeah. And basically she said, you know, that's something for you to work for within your marriage. Hopefully love is enough. Sometimes it's crazy. All right, so we move on to a new couple that is on the cast, the Dobines. This is Mr. Marcel and Kimberly. They've been married for 8 years, been together for 10 years. They have 2 children, Lourdes and Chancellor. I said, go ahead with these non-traditional names. It's not off. I mean, they have been said before, but we're used to the Marcuses, you know, the James, the Jimmys, the, you know, Camerons, you know, all of those more traditional names, you know. So it's good to actually hear something. Keisha, we hear that all the time. I like that they stepped out of the box. Anyways, Miss Kimberly, she is an event hostess, a designer, a speaker, a podcaster. Marcel, he is a mortgage broker and also a motivational speaker. And I'm just going to tell you that I love them right off the jump. Like, they bring vibrance. I think she brings some flamboyancy, and that means some color. And how they can make each other laugh and make things kind of just enjoyable to watch within the scene. They are I think they're about to eat dinner. I think the food was ready for everyone, and you can see that there is a co-parenting type of situation happening thus far, even though this scene was just really short anyways. While she was getting dinner for the youngest Chancellor, they call him Bookman. She said that's her juicy. She just wants to eat him. Bookman's kind of demanding and makes his presence known to pay attention to me. Their life is busy right now, and they think right now they were just talking a little bit about what could help their marriage, and she thinks that they need to work on their communication. She talks a lot, and he listens. And she's like, I love that you actually listen, but I do want you to open up more. And with men, it's a lot harder, we've been programmed to not really open up a lot. So hopefully he does start opening up more. As before, I did say the Chancellor, he commands your attention. Obviously, this boy is going to be a mighty leader when he grows up. They have just come to agreement that they need a date night, because even when they're trying to be husband and wife, Chancellor gonna find a way to get up in that to stop that. So I did like their scene a lot. All right, so we move on to Christina and Colby. They have not spoken since the reunion, and they had not spoken before even that when taping stopped. And I think Christina called Colby just to say, hey, let's check in after all of this time, which is, I have some gripes about this, so get ready. So I think Colby ended up saying, they recap on what happened at the reunion. They did hug it out. Colby does say that she felt like it was a genuine place at that moment, but I don't think that we really have made it to the healing place or worked on getting to a healing place. Christina said, Colby said, I had not heard from you. And Christina says, you were distant, and I really didn't I didn't feel comfortable to try to reach out to do this and do that. Colby and I feel like those are excuses, especially when Colby felt like she was wronged in the situation. So it's like, I feel like Christina and Brandon are a lot more alike than they really see it. I mean, they got their differences, but how y'all like to handle relationships. She says something later on, Christina does, that I'm like, how can you say that you want sisterhood, but at the same time, you don't even want to work at it? So we'll get there in just a second. Oh yeah, sisterhood is crucial to her. They felt like they were sisters and all of that. And all I know is because of, and she ends up saying, you know, for what I am going through right now, you know, I can't fight you, and I can't fight Brandon. Since there is a wall up, Christina is not really open to sharing of what's going on in her marriage. And Colby's like, I think that there's something more there, but Colby says, you know, I don't have the capacity to try to find out, to try to be there for her. Christina ends up saying to them in conversation, you know, I'm trying to show up. I hope you please see my heart in all of this. And Colby says that she does acknowledge it. I really like Colby in this conversation and her stance. What Christina is confessing as far as relationships, I don't see that. I don't see that. I think because she's only been tolerable of her marriage. I just need to see what she's really like with her other relationships outside of this friend circle. I don't see it adding up. I think Colby is protecting her boundaries and just not letting anything go by. I'm glad that she's not thirsty to be attached to anyone and really takes her relationship serious and just not letting Christina get away with whatever that she feels like she's trying to get away with how she talks. Because she says one thing, but I don't see much backing up. That's what I feel. That's how I feel. What will it take for us to get back to the place that we are? They just said, you know, we're going to still just try to meet up and see what happens. If we're supposed to get back to this place, then we will. If not, then that's just that. I don't know how y'all feel about that, because I don't see what Christina is confessing. Of course, I only see this dynamic, and I would just love to see her in other relationships. So I'm critical here. However, I'm open because I'm still trying to learn this cast, and I don't like to be that brutal on people that, A, I don't really know, and then B, because I haven't really learned you enough to say, Now I can call out some things like, but there's just some things that I'm just not going to be so brutal with. Hopefully y'all appreciate that. All right, so we move over to the Thompsons' residents, Latoya and Anthony. They are hosting a little couples thing. They're bringing on the Dobines, so they are pretty close to the Dobines. Anthony knew Kimberly a lot longer than Latoya, but Latoya and Kimberly have a tighter relationship than what Anthony and Kimberly had since knowing each other from back in the day. Sometimes I'll be just picking up, I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm just throwing it out there. It'd be just this little competition between Anthony and Latoya, mostly with Anthony a little bit on certain things. Like, let the girl have that relationship with that woman. Come on. But anyways, they host dinner and they decide to do this whole never have I ever. I thought I wrote it down someplace, but I don't even see it, what I did with it. Had sex on my parents' bed. And Kimberly said, my parents don't play that. My dad don't play that. He's crazy. Anthony's the only one to drink. I'm like, Anthony, I know it's old or whatever, but that's just some disrespect. I'd rather do it on the floor than to do it in somebody's bed, in someone else's bed. I just won't. I'm not that lustful. I'm not that horny to do that. Skinny dipped. Anthony again takes a shot. And Latoya's like, wait a minute. You ain't never skinny dip with me. And Anthony feels like she's closed up and doesn't want to do a bunch of stuff. And I think that kind of encouraged Latoya to do something like that. Hopefully she does do it. I love Latoya. I don't care what anybody says. But he was kind of taking jabs at Latoya at how she doesn't like to do a lot of fun things. I think Marcel took a shot too on that skinny dipping. I think so. Then they talked about, the couples that are around. We have a lot more couples that you can be around. Colby and Russell. They also mention Christina and Brandon. And we find out there is a past between Kimberly and Christina. We find out that Kimberly really taught her, and I think this was in the tweet that I saw last night. She taught Christina how to be an influencer, an online influencer. She really felt betrayed by Christina because over some incidents where she knew that Christina did not have her back. And it all sounds pretty much the same as what happened in season 1 with Colby and how even Latoya has felt with Christina and how she treats people. So it's kind of lining up if somebody else is saying this about anyone, saying anything about this concerning you, Christina. What's up, Christina? I think you're going to deny it anyways, but that's what happens a lot with you, and somehow you're able to curtail the conversations or questions that are being asked. I've noticed that also. All right, so they are going, all the couples have been invited to Johnny Bravo. Is it Johnny Bravo? Bravo, I'll just say Bravo. I think it's his birthday party. All the couples are coming. Everybody's got their furs or maybe ers. I don't know, I can't tell the difference or whatever. Obviously Anthony still has a little sore spot for Christina. LaToya does too. They're just taking it lightly. They haven't seen them since reunion time, but she's got on this pink fur or pink coat, and what he ended up calling it, a pink poodle. I said, Lord Jesus, that's gonna be our comedy relief. And I think also the Dobines, they're gonna be our comedy relief. Brandon could be comedic too. So between those four, I think we'll have some comedy going on. Once the Smiths arrive, you know, they have not told their friends about them being separate, so we're going to fake it until we make it. And then the Dobines show up, and obviously we get this theatrical music at the end of the episode, and we see in the preview something is about to be discussed between the Dobines and Christina, or Kimberly with Christina. So I'm enjoying it, y'all. Hopefully you guys are too. I think we have a great season that's ahead. You know, again, I'm not going to sit up here and try to compare and make this show be just like Huntsville or DC or Bell Collective or Family Empire or anything else, or Housewives. It's not what it is, and I'm just glad you're in some type of familiar territory for me. All right, I'm excited. Here's the season 2. To much success. Again, thank you for coming to my channel, for your support. Like this video. Subscribe if you have not subscribed as of yet. And also, you can leave your comments below. Tell me what you think. Until the next video, peace.